Can you learn to be funny? How important is it to be funny as a professional speaker and communicator? I'm super excited to introduce you to my guest for this episode. I was planning to save this for my 200th episode, which is coming up very soon, but then I decided as it was my birthday this week, I wanted to give you a present. I've wanted to interview Judy Carter for a long time, and this year the stars aligned to make it happen. Judy is the author of several amazing books, one of them being The New Comedy Bible, and also The Message of You, which I think is an essential book, both essential books really, for professional speakers and certainly anyone who wants to punch up their communication skills with humor. The New Comedy Bible was the book that helped me to realize that maybe I could do stand up comedy after all, and certainly I can be funny when I know how to do it. Now, I've spared you some of our conversation where we chatted about things like Spain and Trump and tapas and workshops, but if you want to hear the full version, let me know and I'll make it available. Even humor impaired people can be funny when they know how to make a joke work. And by the end of this episode, you will learn at least one simple technique that you can start to use right away to be funnier. And you'll get Judy's wonderful take on doing scary things. You'll discover why Judy is one of the top comedy coaches in the world. And I'll let you know where you can send your thank yous and your gift baskets for introducing you to Judy. Welcome to Present Influence, the show for speakers, coaches, and communication professionals who want to increase their impact and present with influence. I'm John Ball, your guide to developing mastery-level communication and presentation skills. My goal is to help you maximize your inspiration, impact, and influence. Subscribe to the show for weekly episodes and interviews with influence experts. And if you enjoy the show, please leave us a 5-star review on your preferred app. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn to get the weekly Present Influence newsletter. Welcome to the show. I am so happy today to be joined by a legend in the public speaking world and in the comedy circuit as well. Judy Carter, welcome to the show. I've been wanting to have you on for so long.
Thank you. I hate being called a legend. That just means old, doesn't it? A legend. Diana Ross. Look, she's still alive.
It's more a case of you rightfully have a lot of respect in the public speaking world and the community because you've helped a lot of people to do better with their public speaking and to get funnier as well. And that could be a good place to start because I originally found you through your Comedy Bible book, which I think there's so few books that can actually teach people comedy. I think there's even people who say it's not possible, but you do it. And you do it really well.
The Comedy Bible.
So what was the genesis of that book for you?
You know, it's my Taylor Swift book because the Comedy Bible was published by Simon & Schuster. And it really revolutionized the way that comedy was taught because the whole thing is you can't teach anybody to be funny. And I really believe that's true. You can't, but I think you can teach people to be funnier. And I also think you can teach people who are talented to stop doing things that are cutting off their career options and to encourage them to go deeper, be more authentic, go farther. And that book, The Comedy Bible, is published by a major publisher, and it just did really well. However, when I went to go, hey, it needs a rewrite, Bill Cosby is not an icon who we should emulate. Louis C.K., it's old, it's dated.
Yeah.
And I want to write a new one, and they didn't want me to. So I went for the first time, I have 7 books that have been published by Random House, Dell Publishing, Simon & Schuster, St. Martin's Press. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to go in and publish the book myself and take a risk and I went, you got to do a complete rewrite. And I did because comedy changes. Comedy changes so much and how we do it and what we do and the approach to it. So I re-engineered the entire book and then I self-published it. Wow, what I found to be true was that I have sold my book, The New Comedy Bible, it's translated into Portuguese. It was bought by Russia. Just last week, I sold to Ukraine, Taiwan, Mongolia. It's been published in so many different languages. And I realized that I had a global audience for this book. And everybody underestimates, like, when I first wrote my first book on comedy, it was called Stand Up Comedy the Book. I was rejected from 59 agents because
Oh, wow.
everybody said, "Nobody wants to learn how to be funny. You can't, how do you can't teach comedy." And when I finally got a publisher for agent number 60 who gave me a green light, Random House who gave me a green light, that was the first question Oprah Winfrey asked me, "Can you really teach people to be funny?" And the answer is, I've taught people how to be funny for 5 minutes on stage and kill, but to really sustain a comedy career, you have to have talent. You have to be that person who, makes people laugh in life. You can't teach people, like, how to think differently because we comics are always counterintuitive and looking for that thing, that slant. But people who do think that way, if you're one of us, I call everybody else civilians. You can learn how to be more succinct in your writing and save yourself 5 years of experimentation by still experimenting. I'm one for formulas. My father was an engineer and I got that nerdiness, and my mother was a dancer, so I got creativity. I can't dance and I can't engineer, but I know how to engineer a joke.
Yeah. And I must say, I'm one of those people that have always been able to make people laugh in my social groups, but that's not the same as necessarily making people laugh from the stage, like as a stand up or as a speaker. And so there is a different skill to it. I think when I started working through the comedy Bible was the first time I actually thought that I had comic potential, the stuff that I would actually be happy to take on a stage. So I definitely think the formulas are really effective.
So you find yourself humor impaired?
Not so much. I think it was really just a case of with the formulas and with regular flexing of the comedy muscles and regular writing, which you encourage people to do and get their comedy buddies. Found myself developing a lot quicker than I expected. Like
Oh, good, because I think the starting place is the truth about yourself that most people hide. And if everybody listening to this could think about what is it about themselves? It's like you said, oh, I said, oh, you humor impaired. That's a fun, people would laugh when you go, I'm humor impaired. And then you think of, like, all the situations where you're just not funny. That becomes funny. So part of humor is really, here's a good example, and I do this when I do corporate speaking. I go, "Okay, everybody," civilians go, "Hello, how are you?" What does everybody say? "Fine." "Good." So we all lie. Nobody,
Right.
who's good in this world we live in? Who is good? It's such a lie, right? So when you insert there something that's the truth about you, but is just negative, you're just really negative, and you add "woohoo," like you celebrate it. So you celebrate your defects and "woohoo, I'm getting old. Woohoo." And then that becomes what I call a premise. Oh, it's awesome getting older, isn't it? There's so many advantages to it. Now you have a premise that you can roll on and create a lot of stuff. I was just writing material about that, about getting older and about age and how awesome it is because people assume things about you and you could just mess with them because of it. And so that's really fun. That's how it all starts. I think it really starts in the willingness to say something negative about yourself.
Mm. But I guess a lot of people aren't always willing to be that vulnerable, especially on a platform in front of other people. So that is quite a big step in it.
Like speakers.
Yeah. Is that maybe where a lot of the fear lies for people, do you think? In terms of like stage fright or really sort of emotionally
Yeah,
connecting with
I
audience?
do. I do. I think this notion that you have to be perfect. Now, if everybody here is listening to this thinks about, like, when you went to high school and the most perfect guy and the most perfect girl, we all hated them. Right? We really like people who are willing to admit their imperfections. And there's something really wonderful and likable about that because, oh, you're just like me. And that's how you're trying to connect. So speakers have a additional problem. If you go up on stage and going, expert, I'm so good at all this, and I'm going to show you the way. And what I believe about speakers is we all speak about what we need to learn. I speak on stress reduction, and I'm like Jewish. I am so stressed all the time. And I'm getting on stage and I'm giving advice on how to use humor to deal with stress. And what I'm essentially doing is talking to myself because then I have to go on stage and admit how stressed I am about everything in my life. And here are some tips that have helped me and they can help you. And that makes it so much better than if you're a speaker and you go on conflict resolution. I never have had it, but I'm going to teach you.
Right.
And it's like, it's so inauthentic. And that's why I think speakers really have to embrace the truth that they don't know shit about what they're talking about. They've made up this speech as their winning formula in life. And yeah, why don't you just call it the possibility of what we could all be? But you'll get a lot more likability by starting off with your vulnerabilities.
You talk about that quite a lot in the message of you. Like you start off with go through your life story, find your mess, and then find your magic from there. It's all there in your story. That's where you're going to draw out your real expertise.
Yeah, it's in the book, The Message of You, which I think, okay, I wrote the comedy Bible, but before that, I wrote The Message of You. And I, it's even after I wrote it and I looked at the title, The Message of You, and then the word message. And then I went, wait a second. I wrote this whole book. I've been staring at the title. I've been staring at the cover. I've been signing autographs, autographing the book. And I went, oh my God, it's right there in the word message. You can't spell it without the first four letters. You can't spell message without a mess. And you can't see it without some age. Like they say, comedy is tragedy plus time. So I had this eureka moment, and then I based my TEDx talk on it about you can't spell message without a mess. And there it was. And I think focusing for speakers to go, what is the bridge between you and the audience? Your mess and the mess that the audience is in. And if you start your speech talking about the mess, the problem that you faced, maybe you have some stories about it, what you know about the audience, maybe you have some humor about it, then you can go into like couple tips to help you with that mess. And I think that's the essential of a corporate keynote, or I've done hundreds and hundreds of them. And I always talk to people who are going to be in the audience and I ask them one question: what happens on a bad day? And then I use it. And boy, does it kill. I was speaking to a telecommunication problem, and the managers were going, wow, we have a problem, worldwide shortage of copper. Wow, it's really a problem. Then I said, okay, can I talk to some admins? Can I talk to some people in customer service? Can I talk to some of your sales team? And what is a bad day? And they go, we can't find any parking. I go, what about the worldwide shortage of copper? And they went, huh? What? No, they're constructing. There's no parking. I have to park a mile away. I have to take a shower. I'm covered in sweat when I come to work. So I opened my show going, hi, yeah, I'm Judy Carter. I'm talking about stress. And believe me, I'm not going to take long because I know you all have to go out and feed the meters. And they lost it. The entire so you're talking about 15 seconds. I have the audience in the palm of my hand going, "Oh, she might be an outsider. She doesn't work here, but she knows us.
She gets it. Yeah.
She's done her homework. She's funny." And already within 15 seconds, I'm transforming their mess into a success by laughing at it. And that's my whole point. So I open up not about, hi, let me talk about me, their least interesting subject. Let's talk about, yeah. Then I go into it. It's like, how many of you get to work? And it's, who needs to join a gym? You're covered with sweat. Now you're smelling up your cubicle. Now you're what?
I love that. And I wonder, I work with a lot of speakers, a lot of professional speakers and coaches. And I do find that many of them are scared of using humor. And I wonder why you think that. Maybe it's just because they're scared of bombing or they're just not funny. But I often find that they
mostly are. I think I've only ever really ever encountered a handful of people who is, no, I don't think that's ever really going to be all that funny. But I think that they may be just sometimes a bit too serious. But for most people that I've worked with, I think they could, at least on some level, without maybe needing to be a stand-up. But what do you think that people are afraid of using?
There's an old joke that was going around National Speakers Association that when a newbie comes up to one of the professionals and says, "Hey, do I really have to be funny to be a speaker?" And the answer is no, only if you want to get paid. And we live in a very serious world right now. I don't have to tell you that. There's so much going on. And I think people will listen to you if you're funny. And I think you have to be funny because I think to take it so seriously is a huge mistake.
I got the pleasure of being on a workshop with you a few weeks back about punching up your stories with comedy, and it was so helpful.
I have to tell you that, okay, so I've been making a living from speaking and comedy my entire life, right? I bought my entire house in Venice, California from speaking. And I used to teach all the time. And then I went, "Well, I'm going to stop doing this for a while." And I did for a while. And then I started up with a class about finding extraordinary stories in ordinary day. And then I got nervous. Like I was really nervous. And part of the problem I have is that I have imposter syndrome, which I think a
Mm,
lot of speakers have because let's face it, do we really know more than
yeah,
other people? If you're really honest.
I think we all
Um,
get it. Yeah.
so a lot of us speakers have imposter syndrome, especially when they pay me a lot of money, then it hikes up as like, "You're paying me how much? What? Oh, I don't," and it really hikes up. And so I going to tell people that imposter syndrome, although painful, is a very good thing. Because if you can't remember your last gigs and how great it was and that standing ovation you got, if that evaporates very quickly and you just remember your image as the guy in the front row going, "Oh, Jesus," that's the memories you hold on to. You're going to have imposter syndrome, but here's why it's a good thing because it keeps you being better. So, like, I have a 5-minute open night, some local gig tonight, some not even getting paid. I have to pay, I think, to do it because I
Oh, wow.
thought, "Let me do some open mics, keep myself to scare myself." And scaring yourself is a really good thing. So, trying something new and scaring yourself means you're going to pay a little more attention to it, work a little harder, maybe get some coaching on it. I do, I get coaching. I never stop getting coaching. Just really, is this okay? Is this good? Because it's so hard to know yourself.
Yeah.
And then you have people you trust, and then you try it, and it's maybe murky, and then you try it again, and then it's better, and then you try it again, and then it becomes your signature piece. So if you don't try anything new, you're just going to be very mediocre because you're not scaring yourself. So when I taught that workshop, which was finding extraordinary stories in ordinary day based on a workbook I did that was a companion to the Message of You, it's the Message of You journal. I was doing it for myself, but I also had a fear of trying new things. And but now that I've done it, I go, "Oh, that was fun. Let's maybe do it again." It's hard to figure out the balance between I coaching and being creative myself. Like helping other people can be soul sucking. And so I stopped coaching. But one thing I do like about coaching, the class that you took, is I think it creates community. And I think that's what we all need right now. And so maybe you can convince me, John, to do it again.
I
I was
hope
thinking
so.
about creating a community of comics, and then maybe if people need personal attention, like we can gather as a group and we can share some things. But if people need personal comment things, then maybe I can have some other people coach or something like that. So you got to be careful. Everybody pretends that time is you have so much of it, and I'm very aware at my age that I don't.
I'd say one of the things I really love about your books, particularly your content, is that you do set things up to make things very easy for people to be more accountable and to follow through on things, which I think isn't always there. So community can really do that. And it's a very powerful thing. I found the comedy Bible community on Facebook to be very helpful over the years. I found my comedy buddy there, although sadly we lost touch. She life got too busy for her and she had to drop away from it. But I had a lot of fun whilst we were doing those sessions together. And just those connections with other people is fantastic. And the community is one thing that will encourage you, because so many of us as speakers and coaches are out on our own a lot of the time and not really
Yeah.
always connecting
I
unless
know.
we're at events.
Do people ask you, like, they go, "Oh, do you know this speaker? Do you know this comic?" And the answer is usually no, because I'm rarely at a gig that has other speakers.
Yeah. And you've coached some pretty big names in comedy, right?
Yeah, I have. A lot of people have started in my workshop. Eliza Schlesinger, Seth Rogen, a lot of people. And then there's like pretty much everybody working comedy clubs making a living has started one of my books. Pretty much where I go, if people have ever done comedy, they know who I am. It's the kind of fame I really super enjoy, because I've never wanted to be famous. I just felt I'd have to always wear makeup when I go outside. I'd have to always look good. I'd be a target for criticism. Oh, she's not that funny. People are ferocious to anybody who's famous. So I never wanted to be famous. So I have developed, and this is what my new book is going to be about. I finished the first draft of it. It also has a very specific formula, and it's called Making Money Being Funny. And I'm
Love
not
it.
sure what the subtitle is, because it's really great for speakers, anybody who's creative, on how to make a living doing what you love doing. And it's a very specific approach, but the approach is to get famous within a niche and get a very specific niche. So my book on Amazon that I self-published, The New Comedy Bible, hold it up because I don't have a publisher behind me. This is my book. This is
No,
the
it's fine.
new No, this isn't it. This is the Portuguese version.
I
Sorry, I was going, why doesn't it
was
say
going to
the
say it didn't look like
new?
it was. Didn't
And
look
why
like it was
can't
in
I
English.
understand? Why does Riverside, this program we're in, reverse the letters and make it? This is the Portuguese version. No
It's
wonder I couldn't read it.
only reversed for you.
No,
I
but
don't know why it does that.
the new comedy Bible is something that is for a very specific niche. It's only for that niche. Do I know that audience? Yes, I've lived it. Do I know speakers? Yes, I've lived it. So when a publisher publishes your book, everybody gets so excited. Oh, they want my book and they're giving me an advance. And let me tell you something, from self-directing my book, I've made maybe 30, 40 times the money that Simon & Schuster was willing to pay me. I personally sold it to countries. I personally have, for 3 years, the book has been out. It's been trending on the top 3 bestsellers in its category on Amazon. And I just went, okay, this is the way that anybody can really have a living and get paid, is you get to be a big fish in a small pond. Trying to be a big fish in a big pond, it's very unlikely you're going to be a Kevin Hart, or you're going
Sure.
to be a Jerry Seinfeld. You're going to get that deal that Joe Rogan got. It's very unlikely.
Very.
It's 0.2% of everybody. But you can self-orchestrate to make yourself a good living. Maybe you're not going to be a billionaire, but like I say, some of the richest comedians and speakers are people you've never heard of.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I know several speakers who are very industry specific, who people would never have heard of, who are incredibly successful, pulling in 30, 40, 50,000 a gig for their speaking, some even more. So absolutely.
Yeah, I think the range, I don't know in euros, but in American dollars, there's a lot of people at least making 300,000 a year, which I don't know. I don't
Not
need to
bad.
fly in my own jet and pollute the world. I'm fine. I don't need that. I'm like what? This is awesome. So I went, okay, so my whole life I've never had a real day job. I've made a living from speaking. I made a living from comedy. How did I do it? How did I do it? And then I went, I think I have to. So I did a self examination of my career. I'm not a household name, but how do I make so much money enough to really, at my age now, not even have to work? And I found a way to do it. So I thought this will be my last gift to my niche,
Yeah.
uh, telling them the formula, because there
Well,
is a formula.
I'll be pre-ordering that book for sure.
And I really want to, this is my plan, and maybe, John, you can help me with it, okay? I was thinking, and especially because I'm thinking about getting out of the US, and I'm like, what do I want to do? So my book is very popular in certain countries. I know people use it in the UK. So I want to figure out, and maybe you can help me with this, how do I do workshops in other countries where people know my book? People like, I know in France, the book is huge seller. I had it translated into French. And I did do a workshop in Russia maybe 7 years ago through a translator. And I went, okay, is this going to work? Is this formula for being funny going to translate, or is it an American thing? And it translated beautifully because I had an interpreter the whole time. It worked really well. It's not a problem. And the formula for getting laughs, because my whole thing is you need to laugh every 10 seconds, and to set it up, pay it off, set it up, pay it off. And even though I went to their final performance in Moscow, I went, oh, I hear the laugh. So I'm doing something friggin' right.
Which is awesome. I definitely think, I don't doubt that Toastmasters organizations around Europe would love to have you and promote you, and the professional speakers associations in the UK and Europe as well. I would be happy to help you make some introductions if it's going to help you.
Yeah, I just don't think that they pay enough to, like, I've done
The PSA
NSA
maybe.
and that, but Toastmasters sometimes I did do Toastmasters Oman, which, boy, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was, like, great to travel there, and they were willing to pay for business class, so that was because I don't know, just can't sit up for 14 hours in a plane. But anyway, I'm
It's a
putting it
long
out
time.
there. That's what I'd like to do in 2026. So the book will probably come out in September of this year, and we'll see what.
I would certainly love to get to one of your live trainings. I think that would be incredibly
Oh,
awesome.
it'll be so much fun. I love doing it live because I love people in front of me, and just my instincts are really good with people. I somehow sense um, deeply what people's messages can be, and I also can sense what their message isn't. A lot of people talk about, I go, that story is not the story. Let's go deeper. What happened? And sometimes I'll get an image. I was doing this at Toastmasters. I said, what happened to you at 12? And this woman went, and she told me this story of, she was an African American woman, and she was 12 years old, and she saw something really racist happen to her mother, and it really transformed her life. And she go, how did you know that? But sometimes I get people in front of me, and I have this empathy or something, and something comes into my head from them, like a message from them. And it scares me sometimes that I can do that. So I backed away from it because I went, this is a little scary power, but I think I could stop being frightened of it and, use it for good.
Yeah, I don't doubt that there would be promoters who would be more than happy to help promote you around the UK and Europe as well.
I knew Kamala Harris's message of, when we fight, we win. No, that is such a bad message. That is not the message. When we fight, we don't win so many times. And why are we fighting? It's not about separation and you against. I went, no, that is not it. And actually, when Kamala Harris, Ms. Harris, was running for the presidency here, we formed a group with my followers, and we did a punch up for her to make her funnier. And she actually, in the debate, used some of our stuff that we
Oh, wow.
fed her. And when you're funny and you could say something and make people laugh at the same time delivering a strong message,
Let me ask you, I'm excited that you're publishing a new book. You're a very creative person. I think the last time I had reached out to you, you were about to launch a production of a play.
Yeah, that was 5 years of my life working on this
Wow.
play, and I haven't been able to look at it yet. It was timing-wise, it just was when we creative people do a project, a lot of times it's passion and love. And what I didn't realize when I did it was that theater was completely dead. Now, I did a run in LA, completely sold out. And then I went, wow, I've sold out a play, but I couldn't get the LA Times to come review it. Why? Because they weren't reviewing theater anymore because
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize
Okay.
it was dead. And then I wanted to take it to New York. And I went there and I found out that only like 5% of off Broadway shows break even. That's not even making money. And that you have to have at least $700,000 to mount a production, and you will most likely lose all of it.
Wow.
And the stats were just so god awful. And it was such a good play that I did. And I have it on video, and I will probably, when I get to it, mount online viewing of it and donate the proceeds to a charity. But it dealt with LGBTQ issues, it dealt with the disabled issues, certainly sexual trauma, sexual abuse, but it was very funny. So I was able to turn some very serious topics into funny, and it was done with magic.
I think that's
It's done with
how
that.
a lot of how we heal, isn't it?
Huh? Yeah. So I'm going to mount. I think I need an assistant or something because although every assistant I've had has been like not worked out, but I don't think I'm a good boss, but I don't know how to be a boss because I've never had a job, but boy, could I use some help. I'm thinking like, yeah, and I should do this and I'll go tour it. I can't.
You might
How
get
am
some
I
people
going to do
reaching out
that?
to you after this. You might get some people reaching out to you after this. Let me see. I don't want to keep too much of your time. I know
Yeah, we
you're a
could.
very busy
Oh,
lady,
yeah,
but
we got to go. No, who's going to
but
listen to us blubbering away forever? Yeah.
but I'd definitely be remiss for my audience. So I didn't ask if you could maybe share one framework that might help people to start practicing and building up their comedy muscles that people could take away from this episode.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this during our interview here, which is in life. Practice taking a chance by doing something different. And when people say, hello, how are you? Don't say fine. Say, getting fatter. Woohoo! Getting older. Yay! It's like sarcastic, but it's funny because it's so unexpected. And what makes people laugh is what we call in comedy the turn. And that is where you're setting something up and then you go in another direction. That's why we say off the wall is funny because a ball bounces, it quickly changes direction. I think if you're scared, now a lot of people, I suggest this when I do corporate talks, and sometimes they'll do as an audience, like I go, the mic's not working, and they'll go, "Woo-hoo," and everybody laughs, and it's really funny. So it completely dissolves stress by just having an alternative reaction to, oh no, bummer. And so to me, that's something people can try. Now you're going to find yourself, I'm going to feel stupid and I'm going to feel ill at ease and uncomfortable and people will look at me like I'm weird. So that's why people are scared to try comedy because it goes into all those childhood feelings that we had in grammar school of people think I'm weird. Yeah, that's a chance you take. I live my life like that and I annoy a lot of people and some people really find me annoying and they don't like me. But then there are the people, the exercise, yes, and you double down on what someone else does rather than going, you're weird and stopping it. You just go, yes, I'm also fat. Woohoo. And then you go, oh, I've got a friend. Because those are the people who throw the ball back.
Right.
And when you have somebody who throws the ball back, you've got one of you. You have found somebody. And screw all the other people who are living their miserable lives in judgment and fear. Not screw them. That's harsh. But I'm just saying, they not like us. They
Yeah.
not like us.
Don't be held back from them.
What?
Don't be held
Yeah.
back by them. Yeah.
You got to
Definitely.
find the people who are like you.
Yeah.
And if you're daring, find those other daring people and throw the ball back. That's all I
Sure.
can say, because that's an awesome thing. I should put this in my speech. I want to put this in. Oh, send me a recording of this. I'll have a transcript because I
Absolutely.
think
Yeah, we'll
that's
do.
because I do that exercise. And this is how you find material for your speech. You just yak and you go, oh, yeah, that would be good. And go, people are too scared. But when you do and you find that person who goes, me too, you found a soulmate.
Absolutely. And that's something really special. I think if everybody likes us, we're probably not funny for starters. And certainly I think we're just being bland, not taking any risks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that, Judy. I don't want to keep any more of your time. You shared so much wonderful knowledge with us today. It's been a dream to interview you. I've been wanting to for several years now. And so I'm really happy that you agreed
Oh,
to
John, it's
come and be
so
on the
great
show.
meeting you. I don't say yes to everybody. There's something very special about you. You throw the ball back. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. Judy Carter, thank you so much.
I wanted to offer some final thoughts on this episode as well. It was such a pleasure to interview Judy, and I've been a big fan of hers for a long time. And the reality is, much as in my conversation with Adam Hunt from White Label Comedy, with the right frameworks and templates available to you, you can be funny, or at least funnier. Now, Judy did say that some people are just never really going to be funny, but even then, you can find ways to get a laugh. And I think those are essential skills. It really is only half joking when Judy says about the joke that gets spread around the National Speakers Association of, do I really need to be funny to be a professional speaker? Well, only if you want to get paid. There is a lot of truth to it. One of the things that I encounter most commonly when working with clients who want to be professional speakers in some way, shape, or form, either as their business or as a part of their business, is their resistance to being funny. People who speak in corporate and business areas will often think it doesn't seem very professional to be making jokes and making your audience laugh. And yet, I promise you, people will love you for it if you do that. And certainly there are boundaries you won't want to cross when you're doing corporate gigs. But I think Judy, as a corporate speaker herself, is a great example that people do want to laugh. It releases a lot of tension. And we are in a time when people are feeling stressed out and uncertain about so many things that laughter can really help to bring us together. In fact, we didn't really talk about this in the episode. One of the things that has been shown with neuroscience research into humor is that much like when we're listening to a story together, it can start to sync our neurology to bring us closer together. Laughter does that even more so. For me, it's one of the most undeveloped and underused elements of developing trust, impact, and influence as a speaker. Rapport skills are all about liking somebody. So trust generally comes from liking somebody. Laughing together generally means there's a sense of trust and community. We have a sense of being like each other. And that's certainly one of Robert Cialdini's elements of influence is liking. If we like somebody, we tend to trust them and they have great influence over us. So people who can use humor have a great advantage in being able to become trusted. There is potentially an element to which some humor could end up being divisive. And you certainly don't want your humor to be something that is going to separate you too much from the groups that you're aiming for, unless you are actually a comic and that's your goal, is to really push the boundaries and test things out. I wouldn't want to encourage you to be too bland with your humor either. It's important to get some laughs, but we don't need necessarily everyone to laugh. We just want maybe most people to laugh. But when most people are laughing, generally people will join in. It's one of the reasons why they would often put laughter tracks on TV comedies, because it tells you where you're supposed to be laughing. And laughing together is one of those things that is a social cohesion exercise. In fact, the audiobook I'm listening to at the moment suggests that it could actually stem from ancient grooming activities. It's become an evolved version of that way that we create community with each other. So we know when we can laugh together that we're with our people, that we're with the right kind of people. And also it's a big release of tension for people, which is so important right now. I hope that you have, first of all, enjoyed the interview, but I hope that you will go and check out the new Comedy Bible. That it does come with a workbook as well. Judy has a Facebook group, which I have been a part of for a while. you can potentially find yourself a comedy buddy there to work on your humor. I would at the very least check out The Message of You, which is much more about developing your professional speaking skills and has some really great coaching advice in there as well for speaking professionals. It's been one of my secret weapons for a while. So I'm sharing with you here several of my biggest secret weapons as a coach and speaker that have helped me to develop and grow, and hopefully will continue to do so. If you are a coach who listens to this show and you haven't already checked out the Coaching Clinic podcast that I do with my good friend Angie Bezignano, I do encourage you to go and check that out. We're just about coming up to 50 episodes with that show, going incredibly well, and we're doing a mixture of short episodes, longer episodes, guest episodes, so plenty to choose from there. We'll look forward to seeing you there as well. Wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, have an amazing rest of your day. See you next time.